Hello guys and welcome back for the March JRPG news roundup. We start with the Falcom news as always. On the merch side of things, not much to highlight. The Falcom shop has released a bunch of new goodies surrounding Ouroboros, like badges and canvas art, while there was also an EEO collab for some Chrono Kiseki merch with this chibi art style. You're going to need a proxy service like Treasure Japan if you want to buy some yourself. On the developer side of things, filmmaker and novelist Makoto Shinkai revisited Falcom for the first time in years. Despite how renowned he is now, he did begin as an employee at Falcom creating certain movies and engaging in graphic design. He also found that his old work on the likes of East 2 had been preserved from when he worked there, a very interesting relic to be sure. East's memoir, Memories of Celceta, shared its newly arranged opening for the game. It comes out on May the 22nd in Japan. I'd like to believe it will also come west as well, like Oath Memoir did. Now there was an interesting leak on the Falcom Discord. It appears that the English name for Chrono Kiseki has been shared as Trails Beyond the Horizon. Some members on the Discord are people who work at NIS America, so maybe an announcement could be close. Falcom also released a bunch of information for Trails in the Sky First Chapter, including all the character renders for the main cast. Falcom and Gung Ho also shared the voice actors for the Japanese and Western releases, of which the West had a lot of reprised roles. Estelle, Joshua, Shera and Chloe reprised their voice actors from Sky, Tita, Agate and Olivier had their voices from Cold Steel, and Zin from Daybreak. The real surprise came on the Japanese side, where basically every role had been replaced except for Olivier and Zin. Whether this was a cost-cutting measure or a desire to start afresh remains to be seen, but many of the previous voice actors had reprised their roles right up to Reverie, in some cases right up to the Cold Steel anime, including Mitsuki Saiga, the voice of Joshua, who was surprised at hearing the news. Lastly, for the Sky Remake, pre-orders went up on Canadian retailer site VGP. It also showed a supposed release date of September 25th, though at present we don't know if this is a placeholder or confirmed. To the general JRPG news now, and we're going to be starting with merch. An orchestral album for Unicorn Overlord has gone up on Ed10 for 3,500 yen. You're going to need a proxy in order to order from a Japanese retailer. Limited Run Games have stated that GBA physical pre-orders are now open for Sigma Star Saga. Versions for modern platforms are also planned. This window for pre-order ends in early April. Bandai Namco have revealed a host of merchandise for the 30th anniversary of the Tales of series. Pre-orders for this begun on March the 26th and will continue till mid-April, though you will need to utilise that proxy service. Gust are up next with another figure, this time from Max Factory, who are generally known for high quality but also high prices. They're doing a 1/6 scale of Lila from Atelier Ryza. This releases in February 2026 for 36,000 yen. Atlas next, and the Gallica figure from Metaphor Re Fantasio is now up for pre-order at just over 15,000 yen for an October 2025 release. There is also the Persona official cookbook, which can be ordered from Amazon at $28, releasing in late September 2025. Monolith Soft next, and Kotobukiya have shared that a model kit for a 1/48 scale Skell has been put up for pre-order at 8,800 yen, releasing October this year. And we end the merch roundup with Square. Near Reincarnation's OSTs are now up on streaming services. There are a bunch of plushies available to pre-order, like Clive and Jill from Final Fantasy XVI at 4,400 yen each. Plus there are more plushies available for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth along with acrylic stands, also releasing later in the year. There are some pin badges centered around the Nier franchise releasing in September. You can get the whole set for just over $80, and Hobby Genki now has pre-orders open for the Play Arts figure of Lightning at $150, releasing at the end of October. There is also a 1/4 scale of 2B up on Army, releasing in December this year for 40,000 yen. On the developers side of things, we'll start with Square. Chrono Trigger has sold 5 million units as of this month, and in light of the 30th anniversary of the title, various projects are planned for it that go beyond the world of Chrono Trigger. The rest of the news is all centered on Final Fantasy. The mobile title Brave Exvius will see its global version shut down in May this year. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has won, or has been connected to, a slew of rewards at the Famitsu Game Awards, like Game of the Year, Best Scenario, Best Graphics, Best Character, and Best Voice Actor. In addition, the Final Fantasy franchise as a whole eclipsed 200 million units sold worldwide. Some of that number was made up by the Pixel Remaster series, which has sold over 5 million, and Final Fantasy XVI, which apparently had sold just over 3.5 million to date. Now that number for Final Fantasy XVI in particular was strange and did draw some eyes, especially when based on a tweet from Square when Final Fantasy XVI first released 2 years ago. In its launch week, the game sold and shipped 3 million units. The issue that muddies the water here is that the figure of 3 million is split between digital sales and physical shipments. Shipping could be seen as sales, as the stock is bought by a retailer to then sell on at a markup. However, one must consider that unsold games normally fall under a contract too, and can often be returned to a publisher if they get stuck on the shelves. Even when considering that lack of clarity though, it's odd that the game seemingly had sold so little in the 2 years following its release, which also included a PC port. It didn't take long for Toyo Securities to apologise for the seemingly inaccurate figures in light of this. They stated that the number from the original article was not shared from the president of Square Enix, but rather was based on estimates at Toyo Securities themselves. Even so, we do know that sales for the game, at least while it was still on PS5 exclusively, were below expectations, and there were no further milestones on its performance. For instance, you would expect Square to share if the game had sold over 5 million units during that time, much like with the Pixel remasters. A lot of the conjecture and speculation would end if Square just provided a concrete sales figure in their reports, which they don't appear to be open to. Talking about Final Fantasy XVI, there was also a report shared that Naoki Yoshida had stepped down from his role on the board of directors, with some citing that he had always intended to do so as he much preferred the game side of business rather than management. Soon after, Yoshi P himself debunked the rumours and clarified that his role remained unchanged. Sega have highlighted that they plan to place more focus on Atlus and Ryuga Gotoku Studios as they see them both as a focus for growth potential. They'll be doing this by consolidating their stability with added manpower. Nintendo hit us with an interesting update in March, where in addition to the Switch 2 specific Direct on April the 2nd, there would also be a Direct for March the 27th. That would not be linked to the Switch successor. In particular, there was note of one game in the showcase not linked to Nintendo that apparently would cause a lot of discussion. Wait till the upcoming releases and you'll see it there. Action RPG Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade from 7 Quark has surpassed 100,000 wish lists on Steam following an overwhelmingly positive reception during the Steam Next Fest. In addition, the publisher noted that physical releases for PS5 and Nintendo Switch were planned. Studio Sasanqua are next, and if they sound unfamiliar, it's because it's a new studio created by Kenji Ozawa, a former developer at now defunct Oka Studios. Ozawa has stated that he wants this studio to learn from the mistakes of the past and not push the responsibility of management to the developers, clearly citing the situation at Oka Studios. Atlus now, and Metaphor ReFantazio received a few accolades in March. It was nominated for a BAFTA in both narrative and new intellectual property categories, and the director of the game Hashino will receive a government award for remarkable contributions to art. As for Persona, there was a very interesting story centered around a Persona 4 remake. The domain name was registered under p4re.jp, which is similar to Persona 3 Reload, which had a domain name registered under p3re.jp. In the 3 months that followed, Persona 3 Reload was announced at the Xbox Games Showcase. Many are anticipating that the same will now happen with Persona 4. We move to level 5 now, where we got a bit more clarity as to why Fantasy Life I: The Girl Who Steals Time had been so badly affected by delays. While there were also points made about the quality of the game itself, apparently Keiji Inafune left the company in mid-2024 after 7 years, which led to a host of structural changes with Fantasy Life at the centre. As quoted directly, in mid-2024, Fantasy Life faced an unexpected challenge. At that time, producer Keiji Inafune left the company and we had to reassess and restructure the project. Meanwhile, internal test players had given the game harsh evaluations, making it clear that major revisions were necessary. In response, I decided to take on the role of producer, shifting the core development team from Osaka to our headquarters. While the Osaka team had been dedicated from the start, the project evolved into a collective effort across our whole company. With developers from Fukuoka, Tokyo and beyond, we were able to significantly strengthen our development capabilities. Some are now wondering if this structural upheaval might also affect other games like Inazuma 11 Victory Road or the new Professor Layton game. It has already seemingly done so for Deca Police, which was notably pushed back to 2026 in a recent presentation. A game that won't be delayed, however, is Sandfall Interactive's game Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which has gone gold ahead of its April release. The developer has also confirmed a design choice that the game will not feature a minimap, a decision made to allow for a genuine sense of discovery. Konami are up next, and in light of the release of the Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remasters, an anime has been planned based on the second game, which will be Konami Animation's first anime project. In addition, it was noted that the HD remasters of 1 and 2 took 5 years of development because there was a desire from the developers to ensure that it was a faithful remaster. This included bringing the original artist Kawana back to redraw the portraits. To Gust now, who of course saw the release of Atelier Yumiya this month, though we begin first with its predecessor Ryza, where Junzo Hosoi came out with an interesting quote centered around the design of the ever-popular lead, which was apparently influenced by the economic climate. Sounds weird, but the idea is that during economic recession, which is what Japan was facing when Ryza was made, people look more to motherly figures for stability, and that apparently fed into the design process for Ryza. Make of that what you will. As for Yumiya, there were quite a few tidbits following release. Yumiya had a free DLC crossover with Tales of Grace's F, which allows her to be dressed as Asbel, and there was also going to be a Tekken 8 collab as well. There were some issues for sure. The premium editions of the game were delayed in both Europe and Australia, with Europe receiving the game at the end of March and Australia getting it in mid-April. This was apparently caused by difficulty acquiring a certain component for the edition, and was similar to what happened when Ryza 2 released. Those who did get to play it though contributed to Atelier Yumiya becoming the highest peak for an Atelier game ever on PC, checking in at just over 14,000 players at its highest. Platinum Games next, and it all comes from ex-employee Hideki Kamiya, who states he left the company because he didn't want to, quote, kill his soul. He states that the company were moving to a model that didn't align with individual creativity, and I think we've seen exactly what he meant in the past few years. This is not the same Platinum Games from a decade prior. Before we jump to the upcoming releases, we end the development news with Monolith Soft, where fans are currently working on an English translation of Xenosaga Pied Piper, the mobile title from 2004 that never released outside Japan. This is only a good thing. Pied Piper is centered around Ziggy around about a century before episode 1, and was important to contextualize some of the events from episode 3 in particular. To the upcoming releases now, and we'll start with a couple of visual novels first. Japan are getting The Ancient Margus's Bride, Midsummer's Mirage and the Journey of Dreams for PS5, Nintendo Switch and PC in early October, and a HD remaster of 2011 PSP title Phantom Thief Angels, Twin Angel, Labyrinth of Time and World Relight, yep that is the full name, that is now available with English support on Steam. On the RPG side, we start with a delay first, where the spiritual successors to Wild Arms and Shadow Hearts, those being Arm Fantasia and Benny Blood, have been delayed to an unspecified date. As for the actual upcoming RPGs, Dungeon RPG Curse is releasing on PS4, PS5 and Nintendo Switch for 2025 for Japan only. Action RPG Kyoran is releasing on the PS5 and Nintendo Switch for 2026 in Japan only. Turn-based RPG Puella Magi Madoka Magica Magia Excedra has released this month, March 27th, for mobile devices. Farm Life RPG Pixel Shire is releasing on May the 8th for PC, it is later coming to PS5 and Nintendo Switch. Monster Taming RPG Creature Keeper is also releasing on May the 8th for PC. Action RPG Doll's Nest is releasing April the 24th for PC. Action RPG's Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles is now available on the Crunchyroll Games Vault for mobile. Action RPG Eden Zero is releasing July the 15th for PS5, Xbox Series and PC. Turn-based RPG Suikoden Starleap has been announced with no release date on mobile devices. SRPG Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero is releasing April the 24th for PC. Roguelike RPG Death End Request Code Z is releasing May the 13th for PS4 and PS5. Mystery adventure title No Sleep for Kaname Date, AI The Somnium Files is releasing July the 25th for Nintendo Switch and PC. SRPG Super Robot Wars is releasing 2025 for PS5, Nintendo Switch and PC. Turn-based RPG Saga Frontier 2 Remastered released this month for PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch and PC. And finally, action RPG Ryza Remastered: The Mystery of the Soulless Army is releasing June the 18th for all modern platforms. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe for more JRPG content and consider joining my Patreon if you're interested. Peace.